Good morning. Welcome to our last Downtown Rotary program of January. Excited to see so many here with us today. I'm going to go ahead and start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, remain standing, and I will ask Jen Hazing to come forward and share invocation.
If you wish, please bow your head and join me in prayer. Almighty God, source of all wisdom and understanding, be present with us today. Grant us the peace of mind and heart that comes from doing our best at home, at work, and at play. In service to you and one another, guide us in seeking truth, promoting fairness, and building goodwill. Finally, God, as many neighbors in our community and throughout the world celebrate a new Lunar New Year tomorrow, we join them in praying for the blessings of harmony in families, fulfillment in our work, health in body and mind, and joy and peace throughout the earth. We pray it all through your most holy name. Amen.
Thank you, Jen. And Jen, in addition to sharing the invocation today, serves as our engagement chair. So I want to thank Jen for the work that she continues to do on behalf of Downtown Rotary. We are going to introduce our guests. If we have a traveling mic, Tommy. We have a number of guests with us today. Thank you for joining us. Joel Sylvester, you have two guests.
Hello, everybody. I have two guests today, both from the Department of Tourism, which we heard from a little bit last week. The first is Alexa Dorn. She actually partners with international trade and travel with European and Nordic countries. So lots of good stories. She's been grounded for the last couple of years, but hoping to get her back out there pumping up the state of South Dakota. And then you guys all met Calvin Blumendahl last week. He does the same thing, but on a local level, partners with local businesses and local groups, as well as the Native American groups to help drive tourism to South Dakota.
Thank you, Joel. Calvin, Alexa, welcome. Thanks for being here and for serving our state. John Pullman, you have a guest.
Thank you, President Tony. With me is Derek Marks. For those of you that were here last week, Derek was the person I was talking about. Derek is a councilman with the Yankton Sioux Tribe. He's also with the Wagner School Board and Wagner Growth, and you'll be hearing from him a little bit more in just a few minutes. Welcome, Derek.
Derek, thank you for being with us today. Welcome. Janet Kittams, you have a guest.
Hello, everybody. I'm so happy to welcome Emily Van Gorp. She is our new HR generalist at the Helpline Center.
Welcome, Emily and Janet. Jesse Schmidt, you have a very special guest.
President Tony and fellow Rotarians, I'd like to introduce my husband, John Schmidt, a former member of this downtown club and a civil engineer with U.S. Department of Ag.
Excellent. John, welcome. And we'll be hearing from Sydney here shortly. We're looking forward to that. Pam Hanneman, you have a guest.
Thank you, President Tony. Fellow Rotarians, I would like to introduce you to Keith Miller. Keith Miller is a business banker at First Premier with us.
Thank you, Pam. Welcome, Keith. I'd also like to welcome our junior Rotarians. Davis Schaefer, we heard from him last week, and then we're going to be hearing from two of our junior Rotarians here shortly. And I'll actually ask Kayla Etrim to come forward right now to introduce our first speaker.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am so excited to introduce you to two of our junior Rotarians today. And first, we will hear from Emma Benz from Roosevelt High School. She is involved, this list is long, get ready. She is involved in show choir, softball, Cancer Awareness Club, Student Council, National Honor Society, and concert choir. She's involved also in softball, youth group, and she leads a middle school life group. She loves spending time with her friends and family, and the lake is her favorite place on earth. We have that in common, Emma. And she gets really excited about giving gifts. Her parents are Josh and Gina Benz, and she plans to attend Central College to double major in education in Spanish with a plan to be a dual immersion teacher at the elementary level. So please help us welcome Emma from Roosevelt High School.
I would just like to start out today by saying I'm very thankful and blessed to have had the opportunity to attend the meetings this past month. It's been a really cool opportunity to just see what you guys do, and I'm very thankful. I go to Roosevelt, as she said, and I've kind of grown up around Roosevelt. So my mom has been a teacher there since 2000, and I could not wait to be a high schooler. I just looked up to them so much and thought they were the coolest people. In high school, it's definitely been everything I hoped for. Roosevelt has given me so many opportunities and such a good community of friends and teachers, and so I'm very thankful. At Roosevelt, we also have a saying, "We are Roosevelt, we are one," and I think that's just a very true testament to the community we have there, and how we're just very unified and all supportive of each other, and so very thankful. During my time at Roosevelt, I discovered a large passion of mine, which I would like to talk about today, and that is language diversity in our schools. There are over 2,700 students for whom English is not their first language in our school district. The number one language spoken is Spanish, and there's about 90 other different languages in our district. So we have a very diverse languages in our district, and I feel like that isn't always recognized. Now, I would like you guys to talk with your tables about which country do you think the majority of these students are born in? Okay. Raise your hand if you said Mexico. So this is a very common guess because we have such a large number of Spanish speakers. However, it's not true. The majority of our students are born in the U.S. Actually, about half. So about 1,215 of the students in our district for whom like English isn't their first language were born in the U.S. and only 64 of them were born in Mexico. So I find those numbers very interesting, and I thought you guys might as well. One resource we have for these students in our district is dual immersion, which is something that I have obviously become very passionate about and want to do in my future. Dual immersion is similar to the program that we have at Sonia Sotomayor, which many of you might have heard of. However, the difference is students learn in both English and Spanish throughout their day. And so this is very valuable in that students who natively spoke Spanish can learn in their own language as well as learning a new language, English. And students who were born speaking English can also learn Spanish. And it has been shown that people learn languages quicker and more efficiently when they're younger. And so giving students the opportunity to learn these new languages at a younger age is super beneficial. And I really think it's just the best of both worlds. We have 2 dual immersion programs in our district at Hayward and Rosa Parks. And so I truly believe that this is a program that we need to support as a community and help grow, just because it has so many benefits. So that is all I have today. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Emma. That was wonderful. Okay, our second student of the day is Sydney Schmidt. She goes to O'Gorman High School and is very involved in both theater and the color guard. You just met her parents, John and Jesse Schmidt. We're excited to have you both here. Thank you for being here. Sydney plans to attend Valley City State University to be involved in the career and technical education industry after graduation. So please help me welcome Sydney Schmidt.
Hello, as you heard, my name is Sydney, and I'm honored to be one of the junior Rotarians for the month of January. And as it is the last day of mentoring month, I thought I would share my experience with mentoring. My mom had the honor of being part of the launch of the Sioux 52 in 2020, and my parents have mentored, though not officially, for as long as I can remember. My dad was a Boy Scout leader as well as part of FLL, which is First LEGO League, and we've also hosted foreign exchange students with Rotary as well as Catholic school system and Up with People. But my dad happens to be one of the biggest mentors in my life. One of the very first lessons he taught me was the importance of making others laugh, and even better yet, smile. One philosophy he firmly believes is that men plan and God laughs. He has a very interesting sense of humor if you ever got to meet him, and he thinks I'm the one who understands it the best. For example, when my brother was born, my dad thought, great, he'll have someone to help with construction projects and go hunting with. God laughed at that. Instead, God gave my dad me. My sophomore year, I decided to take a shop class and fell in love with the teacher there, Mr. Owen. He has a very similar sense of humor to my dad, and we get along great all year. He jokes around and tells us his work stories so we can learn from his mistakes or laugh at them. That first semester, we built a garage for the school's new practice field, as well as a set of sawhorses. And yes, that was my dad's Christmas gift that year. The second semester, we built miniature sawhorses that functioned as step stools to help us with the interior work that goes into a house. We were learning about plumbing, electrical, and just about to start drywall. Then COVID hit. I was getting ready for my junior year and decided to take his drafting and architecture classes. Then he offered me the chance to mentor, and I didn't realize how hard it was. I have the same chance again to mentor this second semester of shop class, and now I plan to go to college for a career in technical education, learning to teach shop skills. Without my dad's encouragement to get me in a shop, I would have never been comfortable taking that class, and without Mr. Owen getting me a chance to mentor, I would have never considered a career in shop. In the fall, I'll be attending Valley City State University. And where is that, you ask? Well, it's 40 miles west of Fargo. So yes, I got a good coat, a great pair of boots, and a remote start for Christmas. I can't wait to see who my mentor will be up there. And thank you so much for having me as a junior Rotarian.
Sydney, Emma, thank you. Our future is bright, and parents should be very, very proud. So, as you know, for those that have been Rotarians, junior Rotarian program that we've had, we took a pause during COVID, but so glad that we're able to bring that back. I think it adds to the rich experience that is downtown Rotary, and grateful to have our next generation coming and sharing what mentors mean in their life. And in turn, I see for Emma and Sydney, them being more on the mentoring side versus the mentee side moving forward. So another person that I want to welcome to the stage that has been championing mentoring the last couple of years since we launched Sioux 52 is our mayor, Mayor Paul Tenhaken. We have joined the mayor as part of this effort and have made it our one relevant it. Wanting to use our platform as downtown Rotary, our influence, our business leaders, to be able to create or enhance that culture of mentoring throughout our community. And we're excited to be along this journey with the mayor. And with that, I'll ask him to come forward and share a few words.
All right, thanks, Tony. Schmidt's doing a good job there.
Well done. Good job, kiddo. Thanks for letting me just share a couple thoughts on mentoring during the end of mentoring month here. First off, I want to start by saying thank you to this club for being a partner in the Sioux 52 Mentorship Initiative. We kicked that thing off about 2 years ago with the goal of just really elevating the importance and the need for mentors in our city, in our community. And I would say that the last 2 years has elevated that need even more. I see it more than ever in my office with folks that are needing help, whether that's job help, whether that's housing help, whether that's kids in our school district that have maybe fallen behind the last year, whether that's men and women in the pen that are maybe coming out of prison and incarceration that need someone to help them do life with. And so I wanted to share a quick story on that. I got invited to go to the Toastmasters chapter that meets in the state pen. Okay. And if you don't, most of you know what Toastmasters is, a club to help you be a better public speaker. And the Toastmasters Club at the pen has, I think there's like 12 guys in it. 11 of them are lifers without parole. And there's one guy that has a 25-year sentence. That's the Toastmasters Club that wants to learn to become better public speakers. And you would ask, well, why would you want to be a better public speaker if you're going to be incarcerated the rest of your life? And these guys want to be able to speak to their visitors better when they get visitors. They want to reestablish relationships. Some of them will get a shot at a parole hearing potentially, and they want to be able to carry themselves well and speak well. And when I went in there last time, I talked to this guy who he's in there for a life sentence. He killed someone when he was 19. He's 29 now, and he was given his Toastmaster speech, and it was about community gardens and how we need more creative outlets for people. And he looked at me during his speech, and he was pointing at me, and he's like, and Mayor, he said, that's why your Sioux 52 Mentorship Initiative is so important. He said, because if I had had a mentor in my life, a male role model in my life, I'm confident I would not be in jail right now. And it was really powerful to have a death row inmate look at you, point at you while he's talking to you, and he knows what's going on outside the walls. He knew about the initiative. So I started Googling this guy. And I found a letter that he wrote to the outside, and it got published on someone's blog. And he wrote this letter about prison reform and how, we're rotting behind the walls 21 hours a day in my cell. And in his letter, he said this. He said, it's an all hands on deck approach that very few people are willing to work on. He's talking about prison reform. The best things I've seen lately here in Sioux Falls is our mental health court, the Mayor's Sioux 52 mentoring program, and the upcoming triage center. Mentoring kids is like clearing brush to prevent wildfires. And the triage center is for putting the ones out that already got going. Like, wow, what a great way to look at it. Clearing the brush to make sure that we don't start fires. He then goes on in his letter to say this. Look for a kid in your neighborhood who could use a mentor. Look out for these children. They are precious and they're a future. To neglect them is to neglect your community. And then you will wonder why your car got stolen. And a little bit of humor at the end, but people will say that. They're like, man, it seems like there's a lot of cars getting jacked. And it seems like there's a lot of kids shooting out windows. Like, yeah, why do you think that is? Why do you think that is? Some of these kids are not bad kids. They got no direction. They got no people in their life, and they need someone to invest in them. So that's why this work is important work. And as a data-driven guy that would love to say, okay, with Sioux 52, we use 52 as 52 weeks in a year. We want to get a net 5,200 net new mentors by 2026. Will we get there? I don't know. I'm mentoring 3 guys right now, not through any specific program. I just make time for him every month. One guy I'm helping coach him on his business that he's trying to get started. That will never show up in a number or a stat, but it's time that we're investing in people. So while there's formal programs out there to mentor, and I encourage you to look at those, the bigger thing is just to notice people in your circle that have been put there for a reason and start to build a relationship, which can turn into a mentorship, which turns into a friendship, which could turn into the next Dennis Dugard, or the next Tony Knorr, or whoever. Those people are in our communities right now, and they need to be nurtured and cared for. So it's my honor always to declare this month Sioux 52
Mentoring Initiative Month, and I want to thank this club for the work that you guys do to continue to invest in that important work. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor, for your leadership in our city and for your work with Sioux 52, and we look forward to continuing to partner with you. I'm going to ask now our panel to come forward, and I will share the names. You would have received the email this morning. Really excited. Joni Ekstrom, Rotarian, is going to moderate our conversation here today. And in joining her on our stage is Executive Director of Prairie Family Business Association, Stephanie Larscheid, as well as Trenton Elliott, Chief Technology Officer, and Kelly Kleinwolterink, VP and General Manager at Absolute Air, as well as AOX Welding. So excited to have this conversation and for them to share their story about mentoring and what Prairie Family Business does in our community to help businesses that are going through transition. And we're looking forward to that. With that, Joni, I will turn it over to you and let you take it from there. Thank you.
Thanks, Tony. I want to welcome our guests here today. I'm going to give them a chance to introduce themselves in a minute, but today we're talking about family business, as Tony said. And so I think that many of you are involved in a family business in one way or another. So we're super excited to have this conversation today. First of all, I'm going to start with you, Trenton. I'm going to put you on the spot starting out. I'd like to have you, I should introduce him. Trenton Elliott is the Chief Technology Officer at AOX Welding, and his family also owns AOX Welding. So what I'd like to do, Trenton, is have you kind of talk about AOX, where you started, how you got there. I know you kind of have a varied history, so if you don't mind indulging us.
Sure. Yeah, AOX is kind of a winding story. It's a 78-year-old family-owned business. Started in Watertown, South Dakota, originally as Dakota Welding Supply. Shortly after that, it merged with another company called Sioux Welding Supply out of Sioux Falls. And in the late 50s, A&B Welding Supply, which is how my family comes into things, which was started in Rapid City, called A&B Welding Supply, bought Dakota Welding Supply. And so we are an industrial medical specialty gas distributor. We supply everything from oxygen, argon, nitrogen, CO2, propane, and specialty gases to manufacturers, hospitals, and every other kind of place that might use an atmospheric gas to put things together or to protect an environment. About me, I'm fourth generation. I started working at A&B Welding Supply in 1998, and so I've been doing every job in the business, from pumping cylinders, prepping, washing trucks, to now I became the IT guy because I knew how to turn a computer on when we were doing a major upgrade. And ever since then, I just kind of used the resources at my disposal to make informed decisions. I went to school for business management, so I find that to be a little more interesting than technology, but somebody's got to do the dirty work, so that's where I come into play.
Can you tell a little bit about the other family members that are involved as well?
Yeah, we actually have 3 sisters. They're all older than I am. The oldest is Tisha. She did 20 years in the Navy, and now she does our purchasing. The next one is Tiffany. She's worked there the second longest to me, and she does all of our accounting and collections and everything in the office kind of related. And then we go to the brain power behind our little quartet, and that's my sister Taryn, who's a doctor in biological, chemical, and specialty gas or special engineering. And she is working with a national organization called the Independent Welding Supply Company to develop the Purity Plus brand, which is a private label that we own. And we sell it all over the country, wholesale to other independent welding supply companies like ours. My mom and dad also work there. They're kind of half-timers. They spend this time of year in the South, and they do everything they need from there. My mom is kind of the bulldog of the family. She does most of the collection works, something that she likes, protecting her money, you know. My dad is the real kind of driving force behind what direction we're going to take. And my uncle, my dad's brother, owns A&B Welding Supply, which is essentially exactly like AOX, but it's his company and that he owns and manages, and the AX is my dad's. Besides that, we have somebody who's like family, been working at AX longer than I have, and he's the executor. This is Kelly.
Well, with that, Kelly, I'll let you go. Kelly Kleinwolterink, you're a VP and General Manager at AX Welding, and you're not a family member. Do you mind telling us how that works for you?
It's actually pretty good. Like I said, they treat me like family. It's interesting when people ask me, what do I do? I usually hesitate because I don't even know where to start. You know, you're dealing with distribution, the transport drivers, ordering the trucks, signing the contracts, the hospitals, the pandemic. It never ends. I a lot of times tell my wife I don't know how stupid I was when I went to work that day because of the questions that get bounced off me during the day.
Well, you know, you guys have such a cool company. I've just started to learn about you guys over the past few years. It's been super interesting to see how you guys have grown and expanded, which we'll talk about in a minute. But Stephanie, do you mind telling us a little bit? You've worked at the AX for a while. Do you mind telling us a little bit about what you do, first of all, Prairie Family Business, and then kind of why you think AX has done so well and has been so successful?
Sure. Thank you. Thanks for having me. At Prairie Family Business, we help family businesses thrive through generations, and not all of our families are in their fourth generation. It's actually a much smaller minority that are fourth and fifth generation. We work with a lot of first, second, third generation families. We try to help them get to that point where they're in their fourth or fifth generation, sixth generation, more than 75 years old. It's pretty impressive. So what we do is we give them programs, resources, a network for success. And the beauty and the challenge of family business is there's not a one shop fits all. You have to develop your own path for what's going to work for your family, and every family is different. And so the AX and the Elliott family have engaged with us. They want to learn, they want to grow, they want to mature how their operating system is for structure, for family, for non-family. They want to plan for the fifth generation that's coming up. And so they've engaged with us a lot through our peer groups. Trenton and two of his sisters have. And that's been a really good setting where they've been able to talk confidentially with fellow peers who are either leading, owning, or will be owning their family business, and to talk about challenges, opportunities, personal, professional, business. I think that that's been a really positive setting for you guys to be able to talk about the future. They've come to our conference every year as well. And that's a really good starting point for conversation, to bring the family together, take it all in and say, all right, that's something we need to talk about as a family. Oh, I hadn't thought about that. We should probably address that. And those are some ways that they've been really engaged with Prairie Family Business Association.
And I'd like to reverse the question too, Trent. What benefit have you received from help have you received from the association?
Yeah, I think that joining the Prairie Family Business Association really helped my sisters and I construct the questions that we really wanted to ask, because being a part of a family-owned business, I know the interworkings of AX really well. I think I know how much it's worth, and you know, that's a big part of my net worth is the family-owned business. And so knowing that I'm a stakeholder, I have the right to ask some questions. And for a long time, it was just something we kind of like tiptoed around. And so going there, hearing these stories of how other people were able to bring the questions out into the open that they really wanted to ask, and maybe do it in such a manner that you more likely to get a response, honestly, was an important thing. Because nobody wants to talk about their mortality, especially when you're in the process of building this thing that we're trying to do here, which our next step is vertical integration, and we're going to become a national player, hopefully, in this business. And so that was always the focus, and less more on the, well, how does the transition work? How is that all going to look in the end? And so just knowing really how to talk about it and the questions to ask was my favorite thing about joining that organization.
Sure, that makes sense. Can we talk a little bit about your company, just to give everyone here an idea about what you do? oftentimes when you think of a welding supply company, you don't think of specialty gases. And you've recently expanded and have grown into Minnesota. So Kelly or Trent, whichever one of you talk about that, but it'd be good for the audience to kind of know what you guys do in the specialty gases area, maybe how COVID impacted you guys and how you move forward.
Well, operationally, it breaks down into industrial, medical, and specialty gases, as well as the hard goods side. So AOX supply, if you've been to a hospital in South Dakota, you've probably breathed our oxygen. We supply in bulk format liquid oxygen to lots of hospitals. When it comes to manufacturing, we supply liquid nitrogen that might be used to control an atmosphere in a welding process, or specialty gases will be used in research or in a surgical setting, as well as medical grade and that sort of thing. And then onto everything you use to put a piece of metal together, between filler metal, personal protective equipment, abrasives, all that stuff. Kelly, you know
a lot of your manufacturing, like they're starting to buy more and more lasers, and we go in and we design the size of bulk tank, the trifectas, the piping, everything down to the needed regulators and the fire gases to get them up and running. These companies go out and buy multi-million-dollar lasers, and of course the distributor is the last person they call and tell us that they just did this. And the supply lines with COVID, even to buy the big bulk tanks, to supply these can take 12 to 14 months to get. So the last 2 years, Tom and I made a decision, buy ahead. Well, we have millions of dollars worth of tanks ready to go. So along with the opening of the air separation plant, we hope it takes off quickly. So,
Are you with 5 other or 6 other families with
five
that?
independent welding supply companies like AOX Welding Supply joined a cooperative to build this rather expensive piece of machinery. It's called an air separation plant. And essentially what it is we're pulling atmospheric gas down into a cooling tower where it's purified and cooled to the point where the base molecules separate off, just like when you distill alcohol and the alcohol boils off at a certain time. The same thing happens when you turn liquid gases into liquid. They boil off at different points. And so then you capture those different molecules, mainly the 3 big ones, argon, nitrogen, and argon. And so, yes, we are partnering with 5 independents. We're all equal shareholders. And the 5 of us service a very large area between Minneapolis down to Sioux City and us. We're the furthest ones to the west. But most of the other people are in Minnesota.
And it's no small plan. It's $34 million facility. So
yeah,
congratulations on that.
It's a small plant in relative to what other people are doing. Again, we're a small group of independents fighting against two $80+ billion multinational organizations. And so we're building a 300 ton per day plant. Yep. Traditionally, you're gonna, these bigger guys are gonna build, a 900 ton per day plant, 3 times as big as we are. But it'll be a really exciting thing too, because with that group of independents, we're all part of, it's called the Independent Welding Distribution Cooperative. It's a cooperative that we're a part of. And we're gonna hopefully set sort of the stage for what other independents in other areas that might not have access to 5 independents, but maybe 2, could build a similar situation where they could be more competitive.
Thank you. Stephanie, you work with a lot of families. Can you talk about some challenges that family businesses have and how you guys help them navigate through that?
Yeah, one of the most common questions we get is, where do we begin? How do we start a succession plan? And that's where we can come into play. Just this month, we've been getting a lot of phone calls into our office. Some have been around family dynamics. Help me. I don't know where else to turn. Can you help me get along with my parent, my sibling? That's how people come into us. We've also been hearing a lot of how do I have the conversation, which Trenton talked about, that the education that we give them is a lot of confidence, a lot of, okay, know in my mind some solutions. Let's just have this conversation and talk about what are some solutions. Are we going to transition to family? Are we going to do a partial ESOP? Are we going to look to a third-party sale? And so that's where we come into play, is to help them navigate those conversations within family and key employees and some of their advisors.
You have a conference coming up in April. Do you want to tell us about that? What kind of speakers you have lined up for that, and maybe what some of the attendees can expect to hear?
Yes, so it's our 30th anniversary this year, and there's a few families who are likely involved in Downtown Rotary who have been founding members of Prairie Family Business and involved with us all those 30 years. So that's pretty exciting. That's about how old the field of family business is in the United States, is 30 to 40 years old. So it's a relatively young field. There's a lot of opportunity. Most are tied in with higher ed institutions. We are a key outreach center of the University of South Dakota's Beacom School of Business. We've operated in that way for all 30 years. So our conference is an opportunity for us to actually have a national and international presence in the family business world. We're expecting a big group of people here in Sioux Falls for our conference, and then they can join in virtually as well. We'll have 500 people at minimum is our goal, with half in Sioux Falls and half joining virtually. Our conference will touch on some technical parts of business and some family parts of business. So we are going to have a speaker on family dynamics, a national speaker on that topic. And we will have the author of Profit First. If any of you have read the book Profit First by Mike Michalowicz, he also wrote Clockworks and the Toilet Paper Entrepreneur. He will be coming here to talk about business, how to position yourself well in terms of profits. We're really excited about that. We are going to have a speaker on sustainability, which is very trending in business right now, especially in family business. She will talk about the 3 Ps, people, profit, and planet. She'll do a part 1 at the conference and a part 2 after the conference for us. We are going to touch on partial ESOPs as well in one of our presentations, and we will have a national success story that I was realizing I should have called this morning and said, are you ready to announce? Because this would be a great place to announce our national success story. But we always have a nationally recognized brand that is our success story, and we have that yet to be announced.
Who was last year?
Well, last year we had Leinenkugels, and that was really fun, father-daughter. And then we also had Welch Allen speak as well, and they had transitioned out of being a family business. He talked a lot about the reasons why there, which is really interesting.
Can you tell me, Stephanie, a little bit about the peer groups? We were just talking about that in the table when we were sitting, learning about what you guys do. And it seems to me like that'd be super beneficial for a lot of families to be able to have someone to talk to, their own support group almost.
Yeah. I know there's some members in the audience that are in peer groups too, so it's great to see you. There are some of our peer groups that have been together for a decade, and that's what we try and accomplish, is we have this group of 6 to 8 individuals that go through business and life together, and they go through the ups and the downs, and they have each other as that trusted resource that they can bounce ideas and suggestions off of. Some families call it a venting session. It is not, although I'm sure it happens a lot in the groups where you just need to come and let out what's going on with your family and business, because there's not many people you can turn to. There's not many people understand what you're going through, but other family business owners or next generation leaders do. It's really a group where we have a facilitator, a trained facilitator provided by Prairie Family Business, who walks you through these groups, and you meet usually every other month or quarterly. And the whole premise is the answer is within yourself. And so the peers are helping you pull that out based on their experiences, based on what they've had happen in their families or in their business, and ask you some pointed questions that maybe no one else is asking you. That's the whole premise behind the peer groups.
Yeah, I think that's great.
Yeah, I was going to say too that it's generation specific too. So in my group, we're all within about 10 years of each other. And for me, it was really important to have an outlet to talk to somebody that was in a similar situation, because I probably wouldn't feel comfortable sharing my story with just, my regular friends who, work wherever they work. And they're not either, in the business as part of an ownership or looking to that in the future. So it was really important to go and hear what other people were going through, because it gave me a lot of confidence, back to that original statement, that you don't get when you're kind of out there on your own.
And we also have groups for non-family executives. So people like Kelly could come and talk about leading a company as a non-family member and navigating that. That's been good for us. And we have 2 groups that are virtual. Our membership is now 230 businesses spread over 15 states. So our reach has really grown, and a lot of that's because of the pandemic. So we are really working to meet families where they are and giving them that resource network, whether it's a virtual peer group. Trenton's sister, Tiffany, has actually been a great promoter of our association, and we've recently added, thanks to her referrals, a family from Michigan and a family from Oklahoma. They're both coming in April for our 30th annual family business conference. So there is such a need for families to have this space to connect with other families and learn.
I just wanted to add too that a lot of the time the conference stuff kind of scares that traditional entrepreneur away. My dad is kind of the classic case. He doesn't really like conferences or, the things that go along with it, but he does like going and meeting with the other, established family businesses and hearing the story. And I think it was a big key for him to, make the move into, yes, we need a transition planning. Yes, we need to figure this all out, because he went and he talked with a lot of these other people who either are in or just going through or looking to go through some sort of a similar situation. So it was really great, because a lot of these people are just real open books, because they're all there for the same reason.
Well, I think that's exciting that you guys have that ability to be able to share with your peers, and to be able to have someone to kind of understand what you're going through, so you're not quite on an island that it may sometimes feel like. I'm going to open this up to the audience. I think there's a lot of people that know the Prairie Family Business Association, and let you guys go ahead and ask some questions of Stephanie and this family.
Shout it out.
Thank you. I have 2 questions. One is, could you tell a little bit more about the air separation facility that you're building? Where will it be? And then the second question is, could you also tell a little bit more about the specific markets for the various gases? I understand oxygen in a hospital. That came to mind immediately, but some of the other gases that you sell, I'm just curious, who are the buyers and what do they use those gases for? But first, your facility.
The ASU will be in Faribault, Minnesota. It's a 300 ton per day plant. So we'll be making approximately 15 to 20 loads of nitrogen today, or a day. Around 7 loads a day of oxygen, and it'll take about 4 days for a semi-load of argon. Now, the major user of your oxygen is the hospitals and medical divisions, but a lot of your industrial plants also have bulk oxygen on them, feeding the torch tables, all the way to handheld torches. And in some situations, the oxygen's also feeding lasers, depending on what they're cutting. Your nitrogen primarily is going to industrial users. Your big lasers pull a lot of nitrogen, very large tanks. A bulk tank is approximately, can only go 250 PSI. Well, the new lasers operate at 500 PSI. So you take a bulk tank and you feed it into what's called trifecta systems, and they'll boost the pressure up to 500 PSI, pipe them to the lasers, and go from there. Your argon, industrial also, it's the major primary gas in all welding applications. And we all know we have a lot of manufacturing. And we supply manufacturers basically everywhere from Minneapolis, west. Fargo was our newest store. We supply all the industrial medical gases all the way out to Rapid City, down to Nebraska and Iowa. So.
Yeah, and with some of these other applications more specific to like specialty gases, a gas might be used as a carrier gas in a piece of equipment that is used to test something. And a carrier gas is just to make sure that you're working from a blank slate when you're testing they call them gas chromatographs, where it takes a particular molecule in and it tells you how pure it is. Well, that's important if you're, say, capturing the byproduct of a concrete plant from a smokestack, and you have to test to make sure that it meets EPA regulation. So that's a really important thing. As well as surgery, we sell a lot of CO2. It's our #1 selling specialty gas, and they use it to inflate your body cavity when you go in for surgery, and they work with you inside of your body with little robotic arms and stuff like that. A lot of other crazy cool research stuff that they do with it, like embryo freezing, I think.
Yep.
Yeah, if you're interested in that kind of thing, I'd love for anybody to come take a tour of our facility, and we have a kind of like a marquee area where we show some of the things that are used, our products are used in. Everything from putting trailers together that are hog confinement trailers to what they use at one of the research labs.
A lot of your spec gases, we're actually just guaranteeing the product you're getting to be at a certain purity level or quality level. The cylinders a lot of times are baked out and vacuumed out, and depending on what gas it is, it could be several times before it's actually filled with the product the customer needs. Some of it has to sit for weeks and get tested again before it gets sent out.
Sort of like a batching system for an alcohol, where with an EPA protocol gas, we fill the cylinder from our feedstock, which is, oxygen, whatever these specialty gases. Well, we recombine it in our state-of-the-art laboratory, and then it has to go on the shelf. And then in 10 or 30 days, they got to go grab it and test it again to make sure that it's within the guidelines of the specifications of the EPA. So it's kind of a long process, especially that sort of thing. And I don't know, I kind of might have breezed over it, but we do have one of the most advanced specialty gas laboratories in the whole country right here in Sioux Falls, one of only 3 with the capabilities to do what we do.
Other questions from the audience?
Oh, we got one right here, and then we'll come to you, Pam.
This has more to do with the family, the Prairie Family Business Center than the welding side. But earlier you mentioned that you kind of help family businesses find the right questions. What are some of those questions? Give us some examples.
When is this thing going to pay out?
Some key questions are, do we want this business to live on for 50 or 100 years? Do we want it to live on for 5 years? Why are we in business together? Why do we do this business? Why us? Why do we want to work together every day? So those are some of the key, very basic questions that can really help you get to, where is this going in the future? Do we want to be involved? Do I want to be an owner? Do I want to be an owner-operator? Do I want to sit on the board of directors? We do a lot with helping families establish an advisory board or a board of directors, and how the owners work with the board and work with the management team, how all those 3 circles kind of work together. So those are some of the questions that I really like to ask families is, do you want to live on for the next 100 years? If so, let's talk about how we're going to do that.
Yeah, and I think another important thing too is when, like in Alex's case, it kind of went from, just the one decision maker of the family and how he wanted to run his business. And not that there's anything wrong with that, but there was no consideration for what other people were doing. And so knowing that, I want to have a say, that was important. And how do I do that? And like she said, these advisory boards and their dynamic inside of the family business, because not everybody who's an owner is a decision maker. And now those are some really important things to flesh out, is who's going to be making the decisions? Are we going to allow people to work there? Maybe you don't want people to work there because it's working as a family business is no joke. I'll tell you that much. It can be really hard. Yeah.
A lot of it goes back to your values too, and the why are we in business, and then transitioning those values to the next generation, even when they're as young as your children's age.
So can I buy propane gas from your company?
Yes. Yes, you can buy propane. Pam's a big advocate of mine because for a long time I was beating the drum of the propane thing. And so it's actually turned into this really nice piece of business for us where we wholesale propane gas to lots of gas stations and stuff like that.
I just like that. There's so many times I hear out in the community where the old geezer just says, I'll just wait till I die and I'll let them all fight it out. What do you have to say to them?
We want to avoid that at all costs. That's why we talk. That's why we communicate. And for many people, they think that's a simple answer, and that's the most complicated answer. And so anything we can do to avoid that situation. And many, here we are today in 2022, many of the senior generation experience their parents handle it that way. And they just said, I'll just write it in my will. You all figure it out when I'm gone. And so some people today still think that that's an okay way to handle it. And so what we do is try and get everyone to the table and avoid that situation at all costs.
Yeah, I can attest to that not being the greatest of all plans. AOX is 4th generation. So we've had 2 transitions prior to this one, and every one of them has ended in decade-long lawsuit. And so it's no joke that it put a lot of strain on the family. 1, 2, the business. A lot of resources that could be better used in other avenues were spent fighting each other. And I've never met I have 3 great uncles, and I haven't met 2 of them. I've never met them. And so that's how deep those cuts can go. So it's best to get it figured out because you'll save yourself a lot of heartache in the family, not to mention money.
Are there any other questions? If not, I do have one final one for you all. What piece of advice do you think do you wish family businesses would consider or take or think about, or if there's something that you can make sure that those out there that are in family businesses or involved with them, they should know?
Have the courage to have a meeting and call a family meeting and talk about life and who you are and what you want and what the business means, and have a facilitator and call us if you want some people who can help you. But sometimes that can be your attorney, that can be your CPA, that can be a trusted advisor who sits in the room and helps you have an agenda and just talk. It all comes down to communication.
Yeah, and I don't know if the person who asked about the transitioning stuff is into that, but it's important to know that your opinion matters too if you are part of a family. And if you have questions and concerns, it'd be really good to talk to this gal because she's got a lot of answers, and she can plug you in with a lot of people who've gone through similar things. And even if you don't join the Prairie Business Association, it'd be worth just having a conversation to know. But yeah, I definitely agree.
Kelly, do you have anything as a non-family member that you'd like to add?
The best the family can do is to have the management in place to help with everything, with the Elliots, everybody's in a different division, and that's good. Everybody kind of has their own little division, their niche of what they're doing, and then they turn to me if something goes wrong.
Yeah. Kelly's the head of our snake.
So it's been different. It's been good. I worked with Uncle Bob 25 years ago, watched the transition, and everything's been good. So,
in other words, we should all have the counseling degrees. All right. Well, thank you so much for telling us your story and learning a little bit about your company. And Stephanie, thank you for the good work that you do helping these businesses navigate through this tough stuff sometimes. So thank you.
Yeah, we're here to help.
Thank you, Joni, and thank you, Kelly, Trenton, and Stephanie for being here. And I can attest as a banker, there's a few other bankers in the room. One of the most common questions we ask as well when we're working with families is, what is your plan? What is your succession plan? Because we don't want, as you shared, to have go through that with the family while they're trying to figure it out. So we appreciate you sharing that, and hopefully some families and businesses in our community, which really are the heartbeat of our community, can take that and maybe evaluate and reflect as to what still needs to happen with their plan. Trenton, you are the Chief Technology Officer, which is a great segue into our program for next week. We have, as you've seen, the Dakota State University just had a big announcement last week in conjunction with the Board of Regents and a host of partners. We're going to have Dr. Griffiths here from Dakota State University, as well as Miles Beacom, to talk about innovation in higher education and what that means for our community and for our state. So you won't want to miss it. Look forward to having you back next Monday. With that, have a great week. Thank you.